Hi everyone, day 3 of linear factorization. This is your second to last lesson, so that's pretty exciting. What we're going to do today is I'm going to tell you that you have a cubic, and you're going to work backwards and come up with your polynomial. A cubic, remember, is going to have 3 zeros. Some of them are going to be real zeros, some of them will be imaginary. But the zeros or roots that you have for this problem are 4 and 2i. Now, many of you are going to say, well, that's only 2. Well, that's exactly right. When you're working with imaginary numbers and square roots, you have to remember that there is going to be more than one answer. In fact, there's going to be 2. Because remember, when you go to separating the quadratic formula, there will always be 2 answers, and that's what happens when you have a square root and imaginary numbers. So let's start with 4. If it's a root, that means x equals 4. Then we're going to go to 2i. If it's a root, that means x equals 2i. And now here, x equals negative 2i. These come in pairs. So let's move them back to factors. I subtract 4 and bring it on this side. My factor is x minus 4. This one is x minus 2i. And this one is x plus 2i. So remember, you bring them back to the same side as the x and write it in factored form. And now it's a matter of doing our array. So when you do these, do the like ones together first. It just makes it a little bit easier. So x and negative 2i on top, x and positive 2i on the side, x times x, x squared. Negative 2i times x is negative 2ix. This one will be positive 2ix. And this one will be negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. I times I is I squared. Now, these will cancel out because they are opposites. X squared, you write down. Now, let's talk about imaginary numbers. I, remember, is the square root of negative 1. Now, if I square I, that means I'm taking negative 1, or square root of negative 1, and squaring it, and these will go away, and I squared is the same thing as negative 1. So here I have I squared. Remember, that's the same thing as negative 1. So I have negative 4 times negative 1, or positive 4. All right, so there is my combination of my imaginary roots. Now let's take that and multiply it times x minus 4. All right, another array. X squared and positive 4, x and negative 4. Some of you might be using FOIL to get these answers. That works too. So x times x squared is x to the third. X times 4 is 4x. Negative 4 times x squared is negative 4x squared. And negative 4 times positive 4 is negative 16. Start in the upper left, x to the third. Now, many times these two are going to be the same like terms. However, at this time they are not. So I'm going to go negative 4x squared. Then I'm going to go positive 4x, and then I'll do minus 16. And I do not have any like terms, so that is my final answer. Remember, it was going to be a cubic? Well, perfect. We have an x to the third. All right, let's try one more. This one I have written out already. A cubic again. It has zeros 3 and 4 plus I. So x equals 3, x equals 4 plus I, and I need its partner, so x equals 4 minus I. Now let's bring them back to factored form, which means bring everything to the same side. So I will subtract 3. So x minus 3. These both need to go with x, so they become the opposite. So x minus 4 minus I. These both need to go with the x, so they become the opposite. X minus 4 and plus I. Now, just like we did before, hopefully this is going to, there we are. We're going to combine the like terms, or the like sets of parentheses. Make my array. I have an x, I have a negative 4, and I have a negative I. I have an x, I have a negative 4, and I have a positive I. All right, so here and here is x squared. Then we have negative 4x. Then we have negative ix. Then we have negative, why is it, this is not a negative x, this is a negative 4. Negative 4x. Then we have a negative 4 and a negative 4 is 16. Then we have a negative 4 and a negative I, so it's a positive 4i. X and I, so that would be ix. I and negative 4, negative 4i. And then I and negative I squared, negative I is negative I squared. So first of all, let's see if we can cross out anything. It looks like I can cross out this and this. They are opposites of each other. I can cross out that and that. They are opposites of each other. And that would be it. So upper left, x squared. Let's cross that out so I don't get confused. Then I have negative 4x and negative 4x. That would be negative 8x. I have positive 16, but I still have to deal with this I. Remember, this I squared is the same thing as negative 1. So I have a negative, negative, or a positive 1 here. Positive 1 and 16 is 17. So that is what I get from multiplying my two imaginary roots together. Now I will multiply that times x minus 3. Going to make another array. All right, so we have x squared, we have negative 8x, we have positive 17, we have x, and we have negative 3. I think these arrays help you stay very organized. X times x squared is x to the third. Negative 8x squared, 17x, negative 3x squared. Negative 3 and negative 8 is 24x, and 17 times negative 3 is negative, so that's 121, negative 31. Start in the upper left, and we're going to go with x to the third. These two are like terms, so that would be negative 11x squared. We have like terms again. 24 and 17 is 41x. And then we have negative 31. Remember when you started, it said it was going to be a cubic. I have x to the third, so it worked out great. Make sure you reach out if you have questions. Have a great day.